Hey everyone, welcome back to Levi's Locks. I am doing the turning 100 into $1,000 challenge. Unfortunately, this one is going quite poorly, and I do want to start off with just saying, look, most years I turn around right about now, actually a couple weeks ago, usually about weeks 5, week 6, I really start to do better, and then I start heating up and things go great. This year, it is not my year. I am not betting well. I don't know why. To give you some context, I do an ESPN pick'em for fun every year, and I do them in huge groups, right? Those huge, gigantic, whatever it is, 150,000, 250,000 people in a group. And I'm typically in the 75th, 80th percentile, and this year I'm a little below 60th. So this is just not a good year for me, and I'm saying that because if you are a new viewer and you're thinking about tailing my picks, don't. This just isn't a year for me. I'm doing it for your amusement at this point to see if I can start getting back on track and do well. So be entertained. Check them out. If you happen to like one of them, great. But generally speaking, I haven't been on it this year. And at this point, if I haven't been on it yet, probably not going to be a great year. But I'm going to keep plugging forward. I'm going to keep doing what I can and see if I can turn around for the sake of turning this challenge around. With pick number 1, I'm going to stick with the hometown Cleveland Browns as barely underdogs on the money line against the Saints. They are +1 right now. I chose the money line at 105. And we're going to roll with that. Yeah, the Browns haven't exactly been great this year. With Jameis, they certainly have more explosiveness. He'll be motivated to go against the Saints. The Saints traded away Marshawn Lattimore. They don't have a great secondary. I think the Browns can take advantage of that. They have a myriad of weapons. They have a lot of different options to go to that are solid. So that should be tough for the Saints to defend. And at the same time, they've got a lot of problems on offense. This Browns defense is tough. And quite frankly, the Saints offense is just missing too many guys with Rashid Shaheed out and Olave out. They just don't have a lot of options to go to. I know Marquez Valdez-Scantling, went off. MVS went off big time last week, but I really don't think that's going to continue on a week-to-week basis. As such, I'd expect that the Browns just grind them out on defense, take control on the offense, have enough plays to beat the Saints this week. Pick number 2 is the Broncos, 2-point favorites over the Falcons. And the thing is, the Falcons have really not looked good this year. What's fooled people is the 2 games they played against the Buccaneers defense, which is terrible, and also plays a really weird soft zone, which just perfectly plays into what the Falcons want to do. So with no extra rushers and plenty of time, and all he has to do is just read what's in front of him and take what's in front of him and stay patient, he made Kirk look great. But Kirk's numbers outside of playing against the Bucs have not been good. So overall, they're just not a particularly good team. They don't have a good offense, and their defense isn't scaring anyone. They don't get to the quarterback. The Broncos, at the end of the day, have a great defense that's going to give this Falcons team big trouble. On the other side of the ball, their offense has been competent. They put up 14, and then they had a blocked field goal against the Chiefs. Looked like they should have won that game, but blocked field goal, they lose. They've been playing a lot better this year than a lot of people expected, not including me. I had them as my surprise team, but certainly good enough to beat the Falcons, and 2 points is just not enough. I definitely think they're going to cover that. The Broncos on offense have been solid and consistent, if not spectacular, and against this Falcons defense, should definitely put up 17, 20, 24 points, something of that nature, and this Falcons offense is going to struggle to get to 2 touchdowns. As such, I'm picking the Broncos. Third pick, Texans, 7.5-point favorites over the Cowboys. What can I say? It's a big line, and I don't like taking big lines, but the Cowboys are, number 1, bad on defense, and number 2, missing their starting quarterback on an offense that wasn't doing very well beforehand. And we saw them get shellacked by the Eagles this past week. Quite frankly, when you put all that together, it just makes sense. For pick number 4, we're going to go with the Packers, 6-point favorites over the Bears. And what can I say? A lot of big lines this week, so you got to kind of pick between them. I'm going with the Packers because the Bears have not looked good. Ever since that Hail Mary problem, they've just looked off. And I'm referring to, if you don't know, that the lack of Hail Mary coverage and they lost to the Commanders there. The Bears don't just look off, though, on the field. There's some things are wrong. Caleb Williams got knocked down, and his offensive line didn't pick him back up. That doesn't happen too often. That's really not a good sign. Everything just feels off with them. They don't feel like they know what they're doing anymore. It doesn't feel like they're buying into what the coach is saying anymore. So it just feels like Matt LaFleur is a guy who's going to look to take advantage of that. He's a great coach. He knows what he's doing. As such, they're going to do well, and it's a big line, but that Bears offense just isn't moving. It's just not going anywhere, so I don't see them putting up enough points to cover the spread. For pick number 5, I am taking the Eagles as 3.5-point favorites over the Commanders. It's probably my least favorite line of the week, but ultimately, look, the Commanders are pretty good. They're not phenomenal. They do have some juice on offense, obviously, and also the fact they did manage to put up 27 against the Steelers defense does say something. It's worth mentioning. They're not blowovers. Their turnovers have been phenomenal this year, but the Eagles are also doing good this year. They've seemed to have turned it around. feels like they've got a little bit of a track going, and it's a big move. It's a short week. That's tougher for young guys. It's a push and pull kind of thing, but the Commanders have felt overall like they've taken a bit of a step back over the last few games. And so I'm gonna go with my gut here. I'm gonna take the Eagles to cover the spread. Lastly, I'm adding another pick this week. We're gonna go with the teaser pick. The point of the teaser is you take a 2-leg parlay, you take each leg and move the line to something that is more favorable to you in order to combine them to get a normal line. Meaning, normal line about 115, something like that. Minus 115, you then take a line like plus 6.5, and you say, I think the team will cover not 6.5, but they're going to keep it somewhat close. So you take them at plus 9.5, plus 10.5, let's say, and you move them out there. You take a team that's minus 9.5, and you say, I think they'll win, but not by that much. I'll move them to minus 4.5. I feel good about that. And then you combine them, and that's a teaser for you. So my 2-leg teaser this week, I'm going to put 2 units on it because I've got to make up some ground somehow, so we got to adjust some rules here. Could take the Broncos as plus 3.5 against the Falcons. Leg 2 is the Texans as 2.5-point favorites because, as I've explained, even if somehow there's a bit of a slip up and they let them maybe backdoor and come in late, like they're winning by 14 points but give up a touchdown at the end of the game or something like that, 2.5 points feels safe even from a backdoor cover. So those are my picks for the week. Hopefully this will be a really good week and I can sweep them and maybe have an off chance at salvaging this betting season. We'll see. See you next week.